best points differentials this season. Two of the three teams that are on this board are facing each other. So, I mean, these numbers are going to change. Of course, talking about the Jaguars taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Jags at plus 46 in terms of their score differential. Obviously helped last week by that big win over the Chargers. And then you have the Eagles, who are one of two undefeated teams in the NFL. So depending on what happens in the Miami game tonight, I mean, as you mentioned, the Eagles may enter play Sunday as the only undefeated team left in the NFL. But, Lejay, are they the best team in the NFL?
I'm going to hold my reservations and say they're the best team, only because of the schedule. Now, you play who's on your schedule. You can't get mad. They played the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions, and the Washington Commanders because that was who was on their schedule, and they dominated each one of those games. I still think the Buffalo Bills or Miami are one of the best teams in the NFL. But we'll learn a little bit more about this Philadelphia Eagles team because this Jacksonville Jaguars team is young and they're hungry and they're playing really good football right now. You talked about Lamar Jackson being, third odds for MVP. Literally, him and Jalen Hurts should be right there. People were saying that Jalen Hurts was only an athletic quarterback and couldn't make the throws. The last two games, he's thrown for over 300 yards, and he's been efficient with the football, not just staring one guy down. A.J. Brown is the only guy getting involved in this offense. Devontae Smith had a hell of a day last week. He went over 160 yards and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert, they find him all the time on wheel routes and down the seam. Jalen Hurts has been really efficient with the football. And then when all else breaks down, he can hurt you with his legs. Not just running the football, but buying time and then finding receivers down the field. So we'll find out about this Eagles team and this Jaguars team this week. This is a big game. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert, you mentioned him as a tight end, but one of the top producing tight ends so far this season. As you take a look at the Eagles, they are topping Pete Prisco's Week 4 power rankings. Jaguars down there in 9th. I mean, we talk about the Jags. They looked great last week against the Chargers, snapping that massive road losing streak. Jalen Hurts versus Trevor Lawrence. I mean, here is another top-tier quarterback battle this week, but what kind of a measuring stick is this going to be for the Jaguars?
It's massive because, again, you play who's on your schedule. Now, they beat up LA Chargers last week, and that's what you're supposed to do. And the week before that, they blanketed the Indianapolis Colts. So this will be a big measuring stick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll see if they're a team that can really compete for that AFC South crown and potentially make some noise in the playoffs. I love what Doug Peterson has done with Trevor Lawrence in this offense. He does a good job of making sure his playmakers on the outside have really good matchups. And then Trevor Lawrence, turning the ball over was an issue for him last year. He's taking care of the football this year. Only one interception and has been pinpoint accurate in the red zone. It's funny what happens when you have a coach that believes in you and is actually a leader of men, what you can produce out there. Everything we thought Trevor Lawrence was and was going to be last year, that's what he is this year. So this Jacksonville Jaguar team is playing well, and they're balanced on offense. James Robinson had over 100 yards last week, so they don't just throw the ball through the air, even though they've signed so many guys in free agency. A big note this week, though, Zay Jones was on the injury report, I believe, didn't practice today. We'll see if he can play because he leads the Jacksonville Jaguars in receptions right now. Christian Kirk has played really well, and Marvin Jones has as well. I think they need all three of those guys versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's something to keep an eye on this week to help the Zay Jones.
And you mentioned Doug Peterson, of course, taking on the team that he won the Super Bowl with back in 2017. His former team, 6.5-point favorites, the total at 46. So who do you like?
I'm still taking the Eagles to cover at 6.5. Now, I know the Jacksonville Jaguars have played really well this season, and their defense has played really well. The last two games only giving up 10 points. And one of those games, they gave up a donut, a goose egg to the Indianapolis Colts. But I think there's just too much firepower with this Philadelphia Eagles offense. But I think their defense wins this game. I mean, did you see how dominant they were?
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.